Yeah, you got to enjoy the suffering, right? Because there's a lot of meaning that comes along with the suffering of being in a startup, you know. And I love those environments. And I think there's definitely in my experience, there's very much a Silicon Valley narrative. Like if you go to TechCrunch, it's like a whole list of companies that raised X amount of money that's now valued at X billion, you know. And it creates a perception that, you know, if you don't raise money, if you don't scale, you're not like, you know, a successful founder. And Bo Burlingham, I don't know if you've read the book, but he's been on the show and he wrote the book Small Giants, where he literally went out to find companies that were giants but were small. In other words, they'd been around for 10, 15, 20 years, highly profitable, never raised money, but were like kings of their particular industries or their categories. And it was fascinating that, you know, there are founders who nobody knows about, who have built these remarkable businesses that have, you know, really stood the test of time. And so the Silicon Valley narrative, high growth startup, yes, it's great. It's a great place for some people, but not for everyone.
I think, you know, I'm seeing more and more entrepreneurs who are beyond that narrative, right? So we see a lot of bootstrapped companies now, and they don't want to compromise on culture. And, you know, after what we've seen with WeWork, what we've seen with Uber, I think, you know, growth at any price has a bad rep now. And I do think the world has evolved. Even Silicon Valley has come under a lot of pressure. I think there's great stuff going on there, and there's very bad stuff going on, like anywhere in the world. Yeah. So you need to kind of define as an entrepreneur what success looks like for you. And, you know, I don't think the press is always helping with what they put on the cover of magazines, because a lot of it is just not true. Right? So the number of companies that raised money and then died, we don't really talk about those. The number of, you know, young entrepreneurs who dropped out of school and became billionaires, that is the rare exception. The statistics actually show the most successful scale entrepreneurs are 40 years and older, right? So there are all these myths that right?
You and me, buddy.
The press makes us believe to a certain extent. I don't want to, you know, blame the press. They're doing their job to sell sensation.
Yeah.
But we need to go beyond that and really do the hard work of asking ourselves as entrepreneurs and as business people in general, what do we really want? Can we create that environment? And I believe more than ever before, we have the choice. But you don't have to work for a large company. If you're not happy, leave, create your startup. You don't need to create a scalable startup, right? Figure out what is really important for you. And I don't think enough people, I believe, and there are not enough people who do that hard work to define their very own personal success criteria and then work towards creating the environment for their personal success. We shouldn't adopt the success criteria that the media tries to impose on us. That's just bad, right?